Christine mentioned, my name is Jesse Nichols. I manage the partner program for Google Analytics. And the subject that I was asked to speak on was becoming a Google Analytics certified partner. But I felt that the topic that is a direct corollary is just frankly discussing what it means to enter the web analytics services industry. And that'll become clearer as I go through this presentation, which I hope will only last about 20 or 30 minutes, but I'll be open for questions afterwards, so feel free to stay on if you have specific questions about the program. So I'd like to go over a few topics in sequence. The first is just talking about why you should consider partnering with Google Analytics. What does that mean? Then I'll go over the benefits of the certification. For some of you, I think many of our applicants have some idea or another of why they're looking to enter the certified partnership, but I'll make clear what all the benefits are, and hopefully it'll incentivize some of you accordingly. We'll also talk about the requirements for the certification, and I'll go into specific requirements, things that I look for when I'm reviewing an application, and we will jump right from there into how to build a world-class web analytics service offering. And again, I think that those two are very closely related. What myself and my colleagues are looking for when we're reviewing applications are, does this company really follow what we believe to be the benchmarks for high-quality web analytics services? And so they're flexible enough to apply to just about any type of agency, but we do feel like the bar that we've set brings in companies of just about any size who are doing world-class web analytics. And then finally, we'll cap off by just talking about the nuts and bolts of how to apply to the program for those of you who are still interested. All right, so why partner with Google Analytics? Well, first, it's just good to take a step back and ask, why are we even offering web analytics services at all? Why would an agency want to offer these, especially if their core focus is media creation or media buying or even search or other topics? You know, web analytics is becoming increasingly important as clients look for multifaceted solutions from their agencies. It's solutions like website analytics that are going to give you that 360-degree analysis of what's going on in a variety of channels and how the customers are responding both on a paid and organic level to the media that gets put out there. And again, this is beyond a single medium. This is beyond just search or just display. This is really so you get a comprehensive understanding of the landscape that the client's operating in. And then finally, clients are just asking for it. They want the conversions and the sales that are coming from one channel to be deduplicated from those that are coming from another channel. They want a single report that really sums up the performance of their digital media, and it's web analytics that's going to get you there. Secondly, it's also just going to increase your competitiveness in the market. And again, the ability to measure and understand the influence of all digital media activities, even the ones outside of your direct control, are going to make you a much more strategic partner to the client. Furthermore, this is going to make upselling and cross-selling to other services far easier, since you'll have a comprehensive view of what goes on beyond just the scope of your media. And it's just a great additional revenue stream. We'll talk about a few different ways that web analytics services can bring in additional revenue. But again, it's always great to diversify, and this really strengthens a relationship when you have multiple entry points into clients. So, web analytics services is good. We've established that. I think that's why most of you are on this webinar. But what services are we really talking about? And this is bundled, I like to bundle these at least, into 3 different areas, but they're all very, very closely related. Web analytics is a very specific genre. For strategy, though, what we're talking about is really an online measurement strategy, or data deployment consulting, or vendor selection, right? These kinds of things that you're not actually making changes to anybody's website or media. You're just really thinking through, what does the client need for what are their measurement needs, what are their business goals, and how can we effectively measure them with the tools at our disposal, or at least measure proxies of what they need. Again, the strategy component may be brief for some clients. It may be completely obvious what they need to do, but for others it could be a rather complex, multifaceted process that requires many meetings and really deep understanding of the business itself and the vertical they work in. Of course, this also involves technology services, which is to say not only the implementation, but a real sense of solution design. The idea that you might need to use multiple tools or custom applications of those tools to reach the customer's needs. And this goes far beyond, just a simple application of the kind of core implementation of GA. This really takes an understanding of, what are all of the goals they're trying to achieve, what are all the manifestations on the website of those goals, and what are all the steps on the way to achieving those goals that could influence or prohibit one of their clients from converting, and really going, end to end through the process that a visitor has to go through in order to understand how exactly the technology needs to be implemented along every step of the way. And then finally, the meat of this, why are we all talking about web analytics services? Well, in order to do great analysis and make better decisions. So analysis services, of course, entail website analysis and website optimization, media analysis and media optimization. It could also entail business analysis, customer help center analysis. All sorts of customer insights flow through Google Analytics. It could be applied to a variety of departments within a business. So analysis shouldn't be just limited either to website or media performance, but really try to apply it to the entire spectrum of business services that the client offers. And then why partner with Google Analytics? Well, if you haven't yet bought into why you might think it's a good idea, I believe it's for 5 core components. One, the product. For those of you who don't know and love it well, it's a very, very innovative toolkit in that we make it an approachable interface for people who are just getting started, and we allow that interface to kind of unfold into more and more advanced features as they get more comfortable with it. And that's really part of the entire design philosophy of the product, is empower a business to spread access to data around so the entire business can become data-driven. And as certain people within the organization get more and more vested in the data that's coming through, they have more and more power at their controls. So it really tries to be an end-to-end solution for organizations of all sizes. Of course, the value is there for the free account, and even a great value for GA Premium, for those of you familiar with our paid solution. But the value that is, again, that we make the platform either free or a good price for what you're getting, so that you can free up more budget for analysis and high-impact use of this data. So it's not that the product is entirely free. Your services are not free, and the services that are required to just perform general maintenance and upkeep of the data itself are not free, but we want to make sure the platform is the right price for the user. Obviously, we think that Google's security practices around our data are industry leading. And support, we believe in making support transparent and accessible for all, which is why we put a tremendous amount of help resources online. And I'll be pointing you to some key resources a little later in this presentation. And finally, why partner with Google Analytics? Well, you'd be joining an elite class of some of the top analytics agencies in the world. And again, this is just a small slice of our entire partnership network. With over 200 partners, we've got partners in every vertical, in every size and scope. We have industry-leading analytics agencies, and we have small shops in Peru and Indonesia. So, we really try to make sure that our reach of our partner network reflects the actual reach of our product. And again, that goes all the way from the highest tier to small and medium-sized businesses. So that's why we think you should partner with Google Analytics. Let's talk about some of the real benefits of the certification. And first, to really understand the benefits of the certification, you have to understand why we feel it's important to have a vendor certification for our product. So the Google Analytics Certified Partner Program has 3 key tenets, and you can read the mission statement on the screen, but really what we're looking for, first and foremost, is that our partners make our product work, and they make it work really well for complex needs. I think one of the revolutionary aspects of Google Analytics when we released it for free about 5 or 6 years ago was that it was very simple to get a lot of data up and running quickly. But that's not the right solution for everyone, right? That's a great benchmark to set, and we still lead the industry with the amount of great data that starts flowing almost right away. However, we look to our partners to really take this to the next level and deploy advanced technology features that meet custom or unique business needs. And so optimal product implementations doesn't just mean kind of core tracking snippet, e-commerce tracking. Those are the benchmark that we expect clients to either be able to achieve on their own or achieve with minimal amount of consulting. we look to our partners to really drive industry and thought-leading implementations of the product that answer real business questions that are often custom, well beyond what the standard implementation could involve. Secondly, is we need our partners to really be at the forefront of high-impact analysis. Beyond just pulling the right reports, really encouraging clients to make the right decisions based on those reports and able to use the product in all of its analysis tools to deliver the insights that are not obvious. They're not confirmations of what what everyone expected to be happening, but they're real customer insights that either reveal the unexpected or, again, dive deeper than is obvious. And then finally, a overlooked but extremely critical part of the partnership network is that they provide great feedback on our product. Right? They get access, as you'll see in a moment, to test betas and view beta demonstrations, and we rely on them for very detailed, very specific product feedback that helps us push our product in the right direction or identify bugs that we just might not have seen before. And that's absolutely critical. We see this as a virtuous cycle between us pushing out a product that we feel meets the needs of our clients and our partners giving us feedback in the early days to help us produce the right results, and then releasing it into the market and having our partners educate the clients as to what the value is. So that's our mission. And who are our partners? Well, they are at the very basic level. They are product experts with proven experience. These are companies that have made an investment in web analytics services and trained up their employees or hired in employees who are well trained, and they apply that knowledge to produce these best-in-class customer engagements. And again, in the application process, it's required to show off a couple of those just so that we know that there's some real meat behind the skills that are on paper. But that doesn't limit the type of agency that we bring in. We have the traditional analytics-only consultancies who would be a good fit for this program. But we have web development companies, creative agencies, digital and full-service media, search engine optimization and search engine media buying agencies, multinational consulting firms. There are a variety of companies who have wanted to enter in the web analytics space for one reason or another, and they want that vendor certification. So, don't let any perceptions of who's in this program sway you. We'll let in anyone who can really show that they can meet our application standards. And let's dive a little bit deeper into the benefits, because I think they're worth revealing. This program could be said to be understated in the relationship that you're able to build with Google and Google Analytics should you be able to meet the requirements. The first is access, and this is a really critical one because it's extremely difficult, as most of you know, to get access to the Google Analytics product development team. But the GA engineering team loves to work with our partner network. They just really appreciate the feedback that they get and the relationship they get with the power users and expert users of our product. So you get to hear directly from product managers and marketers as we release new features or as we prepare to release them. You can hear directly from engineers who will sometimes chime in with a technical answer to the workings of the product if it feels like it's called for. But you also get things like technical support that's dedicated just to the GA partners, the ability to report bugs and feature requests. And this is a critical one. I put this one first in the first category because partners do receive support, but our application standards are set up such that we expect our partners to be doing, far beyond what we would consider kind of simple or even minimal custom work. We expect our partners to be able to read into the technical workings of the product already, and so the support that they need is typically either to report a bug or to help solve a complex issue that just hasn't even been presented before. So we give support to those who don't need it is kind of how we put it, because we do need to know that the companies we're letting in for partnership aren't going to create an unnecessary or unjustified demand on our very, very limited support team. But it's there once you get in, and our partners do appreciate that for, again, reporting bugs and feature requests. You also get access to exclusive resources. The GA Partner Forum and Support Portal are probably the most pointed to resources as you enter into partnership, as far as getting you ramped up, helping you understand what's available to partners, as far as just answers to tough questions and the benefits that kind of separate a partner from non-certified. But you also get resources that that'll produce tangible results for you. So if you're holding webinars or conferences, especially with other partners, these are of course subject to some of the guidelines and our own availability. But if you're doing high impact, high profile events, and it seems like something that's in line with our marketing goals, we've been willing in some cases to produce Google speakers for those and really help not only boost attendance but credibility for the conference, and again, tangible results in the end. And then finally, you also get access to our exclusive events, which includes our annual Partner Summit in Mountain View, and that's just a fantastic time to connect or reconnect with the product team, meet other partners, share stories, and also get insights as far as what's coming down the pipe and how you can improve your business accordingly. And then you also get access to our monthly partner webinar, which is just kind of a monthly check-in on what features are coming out soon, which ones just came out, and how these, again, can impact your business, as well as developments in our own network and industry. You also get an unprecedented amount of insight into our product roadmap, and I say unprecedented because all of our partners are under NDA, and they all very much respect the NDA. We've never actually had a leak from the partner network, but we do produce a large runway of insight into what's coming down, because we know that some of these changes could have a profound impact on the way that partners do business with their clients and the kinds of recommendations they're making. And so, product roadmap presentations are common at those partner webinars, as well as at the Partner Summit. And we also help partners understand what is the impact this is going to have on the current way that they, make technology or analysis recommendations, and how they could kind of shift these strategies in the future. You'll get insight into beta launches, as I've indicated. You'll get access to some, not all betas, but a decent number of our betas are available to partners first to test it out, kick the tires, and again, send us feedback. And you'll also get demonstrations on how to use these products. And again, because we assume it's such a high technical audience, we can get deep into how these products are going to work, and take very detailed feedback early on. And then finally, you'll get insight into the product itself. There are some fundamental questions that I know that are somewhat unanswered about the product, and it's partly because they're really tough to describe to a general audience. This is a very difficult technical product in some ways, and so on places on the portal and on the forum, we've got extremely explicit answers on how the product works, so that you can better understand and configure the solutions for your clients. And then finally, the most commonly pointed to from the outside benefit of the network is just public certification, right? You've got recognition from the vendor that you're doing best-in-class work with their product, and you've got a definitive listing on the GA partner page that you can point to. You can also do a co-branded case study, and you might see a number of those linked to you. If you do a co-branded case study with us and a client, we'll link to it from your listing. And we've also invited partners to come and write blog posts for our GA blog and articles for our Help Center. We'll even work with you if you're throwing a conference with other GA partners. Again, this is subject to our guidelines, but we'll even let you co-brand your conferences and really leverage the brand there. So I think exposure is a great way to build up new business on your own, or at least verify for the clients you're trying to acquire that you've gone through the necessary steps. But it is only one part of all the benefits, and we do hope that applicants are interested in a significant number of the other ones. So now I want to go through the requirements of the certification, and it's really important to emphasize that there are a number of agencies, and I get applications all the time from all over the world. As was mentioned, I manage the application process for both North and South America, but I also used to manage it for Japan and Asia Pacific, and I still work with my colleague over there on managing those applications. So I've seen applications far and wide, and I want to emphasize that there are many ways to do great web analytics and do great work with Google Analytics that are not in line with the goals of the partner program. So I do want to kind of lean on that fact that there are many agencies that I've had to politely give guidance to as far as what it would take between what they're doing now and what would look like a certified partnership, that we still thank them for the great work that they're doing with GA. They're still driving great media spend and great decisions, but it's not quite what the partnership is designed to establish. So I'm going to lay out these requirements, and some of them may fit what your business does, and some of them might not. And for some of you, you do want to strive for the partnership still, and so you'll work to add these components. But for others, it's just not within the purview of the agency, and I do want to acknowledge that you're still doing great work with the product, and we still want to encourage that. So keep that in mind as I go through some of these requirements. The most fundamental component of this process is just the application packet, and you'll see these Learn More links in the upper right corner of these slides. You can visit them. We'll also, I believe, be passing around this presentation afterwards, and it will be posted to YouTube and with all the relevant links. But this application packet is listed on google.com/analytics/partners, and then you click on the little Become a Partner link. So you download the packet, and the components of this reflect at minimum the things I'd mentioned earlier, that you have the right technical requirements in place, and this is not only showing examples of what I call full-featured implementations, which is to say you use the product far beyond just a minimal implementation or just a basic customization to get past multi-domain tracking or what have you, but that you are really using advanced features for advanced measurement needs that are going to produce deep business insights. And we need to not only see that you've done the work, but also that you have processes around this that's going to ensure the consistent deployment of great implementations over and over again. The way I like to put it is, many companies can come up with 1 or 2 or 3 great examples of work they've done with GA in the past. However, when we certify a company, we certify them for good. We don't reevaluate them unless issues arise. And so the only way that myself and my other partner program managers are going to know that this company will consistently produce implementations at the quality level that we're seeing in the application is that they have a series of processes around their implementation that everybody who is bought into this is using, and the entire agency kind of understands what role web analytics plays within their org, so that there's not this huge variance in quality coming out. But again, we'll go over the technical requirements a bit more in a sec. The second part are the analytical requirements, and what we're looking is that analysts are following best practices and generally producing insights that are closely tied to the data that they were able to retrieve with their full-featured implementation, but also much in line with with the business goals as well, and not just limited to the scope of their own work with the client. So again, for the media agencies out there, the creative agencies out there, that they've got some insights into how the entire ecosystem of the website is playing together to produce results, not just within the very limited scope of the media they've bought. And then finally, there's obviously the agreement to the program requirements, which are essentially can be boiled down to staying educated about the product, staying responsive to the partner program managers and the network as needed, and just staying engaged in general. And we do believe that this is truly a partnership in that it's a two-way communication street, and we need our partners to stay involved. So when I say about the technical requirements, the phrase we like to throw out there is that it goes beyond the help center. And again, this is we've got a number of basic and intermediate level guidance on the Google Analytics website and our Help Center, but we really need we need to have the applicants go well beyond that information and to the point of understanding, again, the fundamentals of what's going on in the code itself. And this ensures that, again, you're going to be able to make the code work in complex technical environments, and that when issues arise with an implementation, that you're going to be able to push through them and do the quality assurance necessary to get the product working as needed. So the resource I like to point people to is called code.google, and I think the short link up in the top is what points you there. But that really reveals behind the curtain what's going on with GA, so you're not your team isn't just hacking through it. But this is this doesn't mean that you have to be a fluent in JavaScript and all sorts of advanced online internet languages. It just means that your team is very comfortable and familiar with what's happening in the actual tracking snippets and how they relate to each other and what could go wrong. And a lot of that information is, again, revealed on code.google. So that's definitely the resource I would recommend checking out if you haven't seen it already. And again, the implication is that the tracking code is just the beginning, right? Multiple domains, e-commerce tracking, yes, those definitely need to work, but they are really just the very beginning. We want to see a sophisticated use of the advanced tracking features, and fortunately we limit them to just a couple of extra tracking features, right? There's custom variables, events, the social plugin tracker, virtual page views, and in e-commerce. Those are really those 5 things are the only things outside of the standard tracking snippet that you need to know. But as they are extremely flexible and easily usable features, you kind of have to know how to use them intelligently and how to deploy the right one for the right type of analysis that's going to come from it. So again, full-featured implementations beyond the Help Center. That's really what we're looking for on the measurement strategy and implementation side. For the analysis, again, the GAIQ exam, which I think many of you are familiar with, we use that as a good proxy, as a benchmark that they've started down the right path, but it's not required, and it's really, again, it's only a sign that there is some company-level commitment to, getting the certifications that they feel like are going to be helpful, but being an expert at analysis in GA, for any of you who have taken this exam, it goes much, much beyond that. You really have to have a strong command of all of the analytical tools that are at your disposal, and you have to be up to date with, how, as reports come out, how can they be used to produce deep, deep insights, not just pull the right reports. So again, the analytical requirement, hard to describe, but pretty clear when you see it that, the person has taken the time to do deep analysis and produce insights that turn into real results. All right, so those are some of the things we look for in an application, but if you're not there yet, how do you get there? And this is why, again, I want to talk about building a world-class web analytics service offering. There are a number of components to this, but really a web analytics service offering can be broken down into some simple steps that, again, if your company is committed to it, should be very much within reach. The first thing that you'll want to establish is that there is organizational commitment to doing web analytics and providing these services, again, consistently, and marketing these services as a core component of your business. What I have here is a diagram of, what a kind of oversimplified diagram of maybe a full-service digital agency. And again, the questions that you want to ask are, who's going to be responsible for the services that you're going to be offering? I mean, you do want to start by saying, well, what services are we going to offer? Are we going to offer strategy, technology, and analysis, just one or two of those things? And once you've established what services you'll offer, who will own these? And do we need to create a new fork in the org chart, or do we need to create a horizontal team? We really need, and it doesn't mean that, again, you don't need to be a huge agency with some massive org chart to do this, but you do need to determine who's going to own this information, and at what point are we going to bring in the analytics team, right? Do we bring them in at every engagement right at the very beginning? Do we cross-sell this as an additional service and then bring it in to make sure that the appropriate teams know what's being measured? Do we, upsell clients on certain optimization packages to their the buys that you're making, and then include web analytics as part of that upsell in order to make sure that you're actually able to do the optimization when it comes time. And then finally, what's the pricing model, right? We don't require our partners to sell everything that they do standalone, just the opposite. If you only sell these as packaged solutions, that's great. But we do need to know that there's some sort of rigor to estimating and bidding on projects and including them into a larger package price if that's what you do. Again, I can't lean on processes enough. I feel like the applications that are just an absolute slam dunk, there's no question this person should be a partner, is when they have extremely regimented and explicit guidelines that help take them through the process of planning a great implementation, delivering it, and then doing phenomenal analysis in the end. And it's up to you as far as how far you go into these processes in your application packet. That's a big part of the phone interview, which again I'll talk a bit more about the applying to become a partner at the end. But the the 3 buckets that I put the processes, that things that you should consider having processes around into, again, reflect the services that I mentioned early on. So for strategy and planning, you should have a consistent way to scope out a project and understand the business needs that the data is going to answer. That's similar but not entirely the same as a measurement needs analysis, right? Project scoping is also identifying owners and timelines. Could be just a simple project plan. Could be a complex, multifaceted document that Web Analytics only plays one role in. But if you're doing vendor selection, if you're doing other services, just make sure you've got a sense of like what questions are important to ask, what are typically problem points that we need to highlight early on, and that'll help with the strategy process. For implementations, this one's absolutely critical, and again, it's a big part of our application and interview process. Do you have a consistent way to design solutions and map the right measurement features in GA to the measurement needs of the client? And do you have a way to get your implementation document to the right person? So this could be the right person at the client if you don't do any web development. It could be the right person in your web development team if you're a creative agency. Or it could just be the third party, in the general third party in general, someone other than yourself, right? So we don't expect our technicians and analysts to be extremely fluent web developers in every case. But you should have a clear and professional way of getting your entire web analytics implementation recommendations over to the client's web developer such that the data will come through kind of as you've envisioned. And this could be as simple as an implementation guide. It could be a wiki or a site. We've seen many examples, but the idea is that there is a delivery vehicle for getting code by code guidance when that's the right solution to the client and their web developer to make sure that, again, the data that you envision becomes a reality. And of course, we do expect that partners will have some processes or toolkit in place that'll do quality assurance on the data and make sure that everything's coming through correctly. Finally, with reporting, this one is a little harder to have a displayed process around, but we just need to know that you're familiar with the best practices around account and profile structures, good filters to have, and the admin settings are all in place. That you don't let any profile leave your hands without having goals set up, or at the very least, if e-commerce, if that's what they have. And that you're fluent in setting up custom reports, since that tends to be the kind of final step in customizing the interface for the client. Again, these processes, it depends on what you offer. It depends on what services your business intends to offer, as to what degree you create processes around this. You don't need process for every single element, but if nothing else, we do need some indication that there will be consistent quality with measurement needs analysis, solution design and implementation delivery, and again, processes around reporting and analysis can be hard to define, but they tend to be pretty clear in the results of your project samples. If you'd like an example of an industry professional who's done this, I would recommend Avinash Kaushik's article. For those of you who don't know him, his blog is at kaushik.net, and if you follow the link at the bottom, and again that will be included in the follow-up materials, you'll have a good sense of one kind of industry standard for a good measurement needs analysis process. And you're more than welcome to use the same one, but the idea is that you've thought through this and you've committed to doing great work, no matter if the current analytics superstar on staff is there 2, 3, 4 years down the line. Another thing that you would expect out of a world-class service offering or world-class web analytics service offering is that it's very clear and that the client will understand the value that's going to come out of these. And so part of that clarity is just going to come from asking, basically a checkbox of what you will and won't offer, and which of it will be sold as standalone, which will only be packaged in a larger solution. And some of these examples are, analytics account management. Is that necessary? Is it going to be helpful to your clients? Analysis projects. If you're mostly a technology or platform vendor, are you going to do analysis, or are you going to do analysis as a kind of a standalone project or a paid project, or are you intending to provide analysis and bake the cost of that into your current services so that you can cross-sell to other services, right? Fundamental questions. And then finally, to kind of cap off this section, there are many great resources out there on how to kind of head toward this concept of a world-class web analytics services provider. And again, these are all links that you'll have access to in the PDF that we'll email afterwards. You can also find them by checking out a text version of what I've presented here called the Path to Partnership. And again, that link will be provided afterwards, but that basically lays out a lot of the bullet points that I've displayed here and has a link to all the educational resources that I'm linking to. But for the technical articles, again, we really need our partners to be able to go all the way through the tracking code and troubleshooting documents, be able to go deep into the understanding of the product that really puts you into a separate class when it comes to the technology services that we need our partners to be able to offer. The analysis articles are decent. To be honest, I wish we had stronger guidance on analysis, but it's such a art form. There's not much of a science to analysis in that there are many ways to produce insights from the tool. But again, at the very least, we do expect our partners to have a really profound understanding of the ways that our analysis tools affect the data and how you can use them in combination. And then finally, if you're more of a video learner, we have plenty of videos online. GA has its own channel. One of our partners produced a free training series on the training site lynda.com. And then myself, I produced actually a 6-hour series, if you can believe it, although it's a good indication of just how much content there is out there, that I called Analytics for Agencies. And that has a lot of hidden insights and me just kind of going through the product in the way that I like to explain it. So with all of that, if you're still very interested in applying to the program, I just want to give you a couple of quick next steps, which is to say the first part is to complete the application template, and it can be made to be very long. I've gotten small novels as application templates. We're really looking for brevity and concision when possible. So just give a direct answer to the question, and then more importantly, include samples that prove or show the kind of meat of what you've done, right? And samples of your implementation documents or processes are always appreciated. We understand that some of those are proprietary, and we don't force any of that. Although your application is kept completely confidential, within the realms of the application process, if there's anything you want to share in terms of the processes or the templates that go around your processes, those are always appreciated. You submit the request, and depending on the application queue, this can take quite a long time. And actually, apologies to anyone who's still in the queue from earlier this year. The Q1 has been particularly heavy for applications, but it does take some time to review. As me and my fellow partner program managers, we have quite a few responsibilities, and the application process is just one of them. But should you be accepted to the next step, it's we perform about a 1 to 1.5 hour phone interview, that goes really deep into the implementation processes that you've laid out. We talk extensively about how you applied those to your project samples, and then we kind of cap it off with just general discussions about what the company intends to do with the partnership and why they're interested in progressing into the industry. So specific next steps. Decide if your agency and your company wants to enter the industry, right? It is a conscious decision not to say we're going to also offer the services, but to understand that you're entering the data industry. And as web analytics becomes increasingly important, especially to large and enterprise customers, it will become much more just a part of the data and analytics industry. It won't just be the web analytics industry. So if you're willing and interested in entering that industry, what services are going to be offering? How can you develop a framework to ensure consistency? Do you have executive buy-in that your company is going to be producing this as a kind of critical component of their service offering? And then just figuring out, well, who do we need to pull in? Who needs to make sure that we have, who's going to be responsible for the skill sets initially, and who's going to be responsible for building out that team, going forward, assuming that these departments will see some growth. And then just start deploying the services for a few clients. It's not required that these project samples are paid versions, of companies you've sold into. It could be current clients who, as a practice, you just say, hey, can we build out your web analytics, implementation and measurement plan? And I'm sure they'll be appreciative, but it'll show a commitment to really making sure the skills on paper translate to reality. So I've got some additional resources as well. But at this point, I'll stop the recording and take any questions. Feel free to chat them in the chat box.